It is Leslie Lois Unfiltered, here to talk to you about what happened on The Bachelor that happened this week. Now, I know I did not give an update. I know you're devastated that I did not give an update last week, Tuesday, about what happened on The Bachelor last week. My nieces were in town from Wisconsin, and we were on the go nonstop, seeing almost everything on the top 10 list to see in Tucson, and so much of it was outside, and the weather was beautiful before all this weird weather came. So that is why I actually finally got to watch The Bachelor, I think on Friday, before I went out of town with my husband. So it's been a crazy week and a half or so. So now I'm back to normal. So here we talk about, really quick, last week was the Sarah show, and I have to admit, she was one of my people that I'm like, oh, she could go far on this. But she had a lot of insecurity, I think, about a lot of stuff, and she wasn't quite up for this process type thing, and it was very woe me, and it became the Sarah show last week. Her crying all the time, her interrupting on dates she wasn't involved in, and the girls really turned on her and stuff. Which, I mean, I get that they're upset, but they were kind of really mean about it and stuff. And she eventually decided to go home. And so that's kind of how last week ended. So we kind of pick up. He still has a second group date to go on. And before they go, the girls are all talking about it. And Victoria's being just really mean about it. Of course, Queen Victoria, who thinks she's awesome, she's really condescending. She says some really rude things about other women. And so Katie, who I was calling Dildo Katie, because she knows the first night she was walking around with a dildo. She actually has become one of my more favorite people, because she actually has been standing up for women that are people rip on in the house and stuff. And so she stood up to Victoria and said to, she's not there to defend herself. Sarah's not there to defend herself. Get over it. She's gone. You don't have to keep bringing it up and you're trash talking about her, right? And I really appreciated that. And so the group date ends up just being a quick cocktail party. That's what it was. And you could tell obviously it wasn't very interesting, because they were boom, boom. They only showed very short clips of the girls with him. And so obviously it wasn't that entertaining that they went through it so fast. But he ended up giving Chelsea, who's that model, he ended up giving her the group date rose. And so now it's time for the cocktail party and rose ceremony. You just knew something was going to happen. And so literally he's talking to Victoria. He's talking to Victoria, and Chris Harrison walks in and said, "I need to talk to you right away, Matt." And everyone's like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And they walk outside to the front of the house where the girls originally came back. And everyone was thinking Sarah was coming back, and they were all mad about that. But no, as Chris Harrison said, because they had a record number of women that wanted to meet this guy, that there's more women coming in the house. Now, I get oh my gosh, I have such a mixed emotion about this. And I'm going to be doing a podcast, by the way, talking about this, where I get more in detail on my thoughts on this. But I won't do that right now. But I get why the show is trying to do this, because you have this record number of women and stuff, that most likely a lot of people tuning in as well, right? So they want to capitalize on this. So they bring in 5 new women. Yeah, 5 new women. It's already 3 weeks in. So, I mean, the girls are pissed, pissed. I kind of don't blame them, but I mean, again, Victoria was just so rude to all of them. Now, the one that stood out to me, her name is Michelle, and she's a teacher. I liked her right from the start. There's another woman who was recently Miss Puerto Rico Universe. She's a beautiful woman. And there's a girl named Brittany who literally came out of the limo first, and she's like, "I'm gonna wake up for lost time," and basically sticks her tongue down Matt's throat and makes out with him right away. Of course, the girls were going nuts. Right away, that was a big turnoff. I was like, ew. So I'm not a fan of hers, but we'll discuss that a little bit more in a second. So these news girls come in, of course, and the other girls are pissed. And he ends up talking to all the new girls, and not all the other girls that have been in the house got to talk to him. So of course they're not very happy at this whole thing. So at the rose ceremony, he ends up picking 4 of the 5 new girls to stay. And I couldn't even tell you who the other girls are that went home, because there was only 3, I think 3 or 4 of them that went home. So it almost is like we're back to square one with this show, I swear. Okay, so the next one is a big group date. And to do this, they bring on Ben Higgins. You remember Ben Higgins? He was on the show as a contestant and then became the Bachelor himself. So he comes in and talks to Ben and talks to Matt and gives him some advice and stuff, which he's never been in this type of situation where all of a sudden there's 5 new women that come in, right? But he planned the date for them for this group date, and it was called Fall for Matt Fest, Fall in Love Fest or something. It was basically an obstacle course, and 3 of the 4 new girls were in it. So and of course the other girl, all the other, they call themselves OG, the original girls, and then the new girls. And so of course they don't want any of the new girls to win, but I can't remember her name. Sorry, I think I hit the stop button accidentally. So this group date was Fall in Love Fest. It was an obstacle course that the girls had to compete through, and Mari ended up winning. So the original girls were very happy that none of the new girls won, and Mari got a trophy of 2 nuts, acorn nuts. Funny. So at the cocktail party, he did get to talk to some of the women, and Victoria thought for sure she was going to get the rose. And then there's Anna, who also, she hasn't had much time with him, but the more I'm seeing of her, the more I don't like her. She seems to want to start stuff and drama in the house, including, so Brittany, who's this new girl that made out with Matt when she just came in. I guess they're both from Chicago. And Anna said she's been getting all these messages from people on Instagram before she came on the show, I guess, saying, watch out for this girl, she's trouble, and suggesting that she could be an escort because she knows all the rich men in Chicago and that she might be hanging out with them for money. So now she's putting this out in the open for all the other girls. You know that's going to spread like wildfire, right? So Anna thinks she's going to get the rose, and Victoria. But my girl Bree, who I really like, ends up getting the rose, which I'm really happy about because I do like Bree. So she gets the group date rose, which is cool. So now we go to the one-on-one date, and it goes to Michelle. She's the new girl. She's been there like not even a full day, and she gets the one-on-one, and the other girls are not happy. But I have to say, like, I don't know, I liked her from the beginning. Their date was so cool. Chris Harrison planned an extravagant scavenger hunt. And so they did like zip lining. They got to go in a hot air balloon and stuff, and they were popping balloons. And I mean, they were having a blast. They were laughing around. They were kidding around. It almost felt like they've known each other for a really long time. That's what it seemed like to me. And then they both were talking about how easy it was and how they were able, like they've known each other for a long time. And so at dinner, she opens up. She's a teacher in Minnesota, and she talked about how it's been difficult with the pandemic and then the George Floyd stuff, and about how she really wants to help her students get through this whole thing and make them better, and she really wants to make an impact in her community and in the world. And that's something that is very important to Matt as well, and so they really clicked on that as well, and there's definitely some chemistry there. So she is shot up to the top of my list up there, I think around 3. I still really like Abigail, and I wish he would give her a one-on-one, because they just have not spent much time together, so I'm worried about that. And so then we get to so afterwards, after the date, actually, Anna confronts Brittany about what she has heard from all these people, and she says it in front of all the other women that were on this date. And so Brittany, of course, is like, this is not true, and she goes like, I mean, obviously she's upset about this, and so this is eventually going to come to a head, right? So after Michelle's date, we have a second group date, right? And it's boxing. They learned to box with this 5-time former boxing champion, Mia St. John, I believe her name is. And so they're supposed to do some boxing, and they're doing it in front of a live audience, which is the other girls in the house get to come and watch. And things get, I mean, people were punching hard, to the point where Matt was like, all right, this is done. Like, this is getting too much. Like, people are going to get hurt. I'm done. Like, let's just go have a good time. This is supposed to be fun. So as they're all sitting there, you know, they have time together and talking, and at the end, again, the girls are talking about the new girls in the house, because none of them were on this date, and ripping on them again. And Katie, once again, like, tries to be like, hey, why don't, you know, they're not, we really need to, like, include them, like, they're here, like, let's welcome them into the house, and blah, blah. But most of the women are like, meh. So Katie gets up and feels that Matt needs to know what's going on. And so she goes outside to see Matt, who's talking to the production and producers and stuff, and kind of says, you know, you need to know what's going on. There's this bullying mentality in the house, like, you know, these groups of women that are just trashing other people. And she said some of these rumors that they're putting out there could really hurt these women's lives and livelihoods and stuff. And that obviously really concerns Matt. But the thing I liked about Katie that was kind of classy is she didn't throw anybody under the bus. She didn't name names. She just said, look, I think you need to be aware of this, and maybe you can address it, and they would actually listen to you, because they're not listening to her. And I thought that was really cool. And they kind of ended it there as well. So that's my short version of what happened. I have a lot more to say, but I'm going to do it on my podcast. So I will upload the podcast and post it on my Facebook page, on my Instagram page, and I will try to post it here on YouTube as well. Okay, so that's my recap of The Bachelor. What are you thinking about what's going on right now? Are you into it? Like, I mean, Matt is hot, right? So I want to hear who your top picks are and what you think of the show so far. By the way, did you hear about all these breakups that have been happening already? Claire and what was his name, Mike? They broke up. Oh, so much. We'll talk about that in the podcast as well. All right, I'll talk to you again on the next Leslie Lois Unfiltered. Bye.